Hello, welcome to the Pipe and Coffee Book Club. Today I'm going to go over one of the ways that I participate and engage in the pipe hobby. I do have a nice collection of pipes that we'll be going over in the near future, but I didn't buy them all brand new. In fact, the idea that I really enjoy nostalgia, and nostalgia plays a big part in me being part of this hobby, necessitates me getting some older pipes. And what I like to do is go on to eBay and or even go out into to antique shops and find pipes that's been well used, and then bring them home and refurbish them. So what I decided to do for this video is I went on to eBay and found a pipe that needed some love. So it just came in yesterday, and we're going to open it up and see what it looks like. So this pipe fits right into my my Everyman and Guildhall collection that, well, I guess Guildhall wouldn't necessarily be a second of Kimura because it was part of their line, but it certainly wasn't their top of the line. So let's see what we got here. This is an Everyman pipe, pretty well packaged. I don't expect people, you know, a lot of times the people you buy some of these older pipes from, they're not pipe people. They're someone who's selling this as part of an estate from a recently passed relative, or, you know, who knows, there's 100 different ways, right? Different reasons. But, you know, would I package a pipe and send it, you know, with their all intact? Probably not, but I'm just happy it got here. So this is it says Everyman London made right here. And I picked this one because, well, one, I was able to get it. You know, it's not like you get everything you bid on eBay. But it does fit my, fit a collection of mine. So we're not just doing this for naught. Also, it has some things here that are, that might be fun to do. You get it in the stems turned the wrong direction. So the stem is very heavily oxidized. Let's take this thing off real quick and see what we're dealing with. I don't know if it has a stinger or not. I guess it probably, no stinger. All right, so we don't have to worry about a stinger. But look at how oxidized that is. All right, we're gonna get that thing nice and shiny and black. But nice, it looks a little rough, but there's no teeth marks, no chatter. This one's going to clean up really nicely. It's also a nice little sandblast. There is some, you know, there's some rippling here that's really nice. It doesn't just look like it's been made out of mud like a lot of them sometimes do, but look at that chamber. That chamber's almost closed. It's in need of some work. So this is going to be a lot of fun. It's a little discolored. We'll see what we can do with it. Once we clean it up, we'll put a toothbrush and some nice cleaning on it. Let's see, this is a shape 93, probably from the 70s or early 80s. It's been smoked. You know, there's a nice enough cake in there that we're going to clean out, but I'm not even going to try to force that right now. That's going to need some cleaning, but this is what we got. Let's see what we end up with. All right, so before we get to the workshop, we're going to try to get this nice and clean, and we're going to actually start the stem deoxidizing. So we're going to start cleaning up the stem. It's going to soak for the majority of a day. And what I use is a little bit of OxyClean. I don't really measure this out. I guess I probably should. I haven't had a problem. But I put enough in there, maybe a couple teaspoons. And cool water. Enough to where it will cover the stem. Make sure it's nice and mixed. You still want it to be pretty dilute. You don't want it to be like, you know, putting it in bleach, right? That would be not good at all. So that's deep enough for it to fall. I'm going to just drop that in there, and we'll set it up there, and it gets to sit for a while. So I'm going to do something that could be somewhat controversial here. First, I'm going to ream the pipe. Now, this pipe isn't very, it doesn't have a very wide bowl, right? Because this is just a billiard. So I have this nice little reaming tool. Now you do want to be careful with this. I like to start pretty small and just start working my way through it. Just like this. You don't have to go in circles. You can go back and forth, because all it's doing is scraping the, so you can see it coming out of the stem down there. It's funny. It's a big cake. All right. We'll make sure this is nice and clean before my wife sees it. Now, if you know how it's scraping, you can kind of ease it around the edge. I wouldn't get too crazy with this unless you're comfortable with it, because you can start removing some wood, and that's not what you want to do. But you can kind of feel when you're scraping the carbonization and when you're scraping wood. So, and right now I'm scraping wood. That's quite a bit there. Let me get some light in there. Yep. I don't have it opened up as much as I'd like at the bottom. So just keeping an eye on it. Working it back and forth like this. Like I said, you don't have to go in circles. But we're still pulling out a lot. Man, I can smell that old aromatic ghost in there now. But we're working it, we're getting close to it now. All right. And it's really a lot of feel. I would practice this with, maybe with a pipe. I mean, this is fine. This pipe cost me like 18 bucks on eBay. So, you know, practicing on this one isn't that bad. But I wouldn't start, you know, with Dunhill refurb by just going ham on it. Okay. This also has a nice little drill bit reamer in the back, and usually I find that there's not a crazy amount of stuff back here. We haven't done anything controversial yet. What I'm about to do is going to weird some people out. Let's get that washed down before the wife sees what we're putting in our sink here, right? Alright, so that's nice and clean. You might be able to see down there better than I can, alright? But I'm feeling maybe a little bit of a ridge there. Use your fingers when you're doing this. There's a little bit of a ridge. So I'm going to get back down in there a little bit. Make sure this is at its smallest. And I'm going to kind of work on that ridge a little more. I know where it is. I can feel it. It even has a sound when you're reaming. I know it looks like I'm doing it really roughly, but I'm certainly not. I could really be going crazy. Oh, see, I can feel the little bits of, it's all feel. See, look at that. All right. Now that took it down. Yep, that's good. All right. So what I'm going to do next is actually take my, because this is a sandblast. One of the hardest things is to get all the grime off of the sandblasts. And when it looks like this, and I might end up refinishing it anyway, I'm not super worried about taking care of the finish. So I'm going to grab a little bit of dish soap. I'm going to put some dish soap on my toothbrush, just like I'm about to brush my teeth. And I'm going to, I really don't like to submerge the pipe, but I'll get in there and just scrub it real nicely, just like I'm brushing teeth. I don't like to get this, I mean, it's not going to really hurt to get it down in the bowl much. We're going to clean that bowl on its own later. But this really gets the grime and whatever else was on there off. A good old toothbrush, I'm talking over that, a good old toothbrush can do a lot, especially for a nice craggy sandblasted pipe. So I want to get in there, I want to get, you can already see the discoloration of the suds on there, that we're getting some stuff nice and clean. Now, like I said, there's some people that may be really weird about getting water all on it, but really, I mean, you know, if it's at a shape where you really need to worry about getting it clean, you just got to get it done. Okay, so I'm going to turn a little bit of water on here. Notice how I've got it upside down like that, so I'm not just running water down into the pipe. Okay, so what I'll do now is dry it off and see if I have, yeah, there's a lot of dirt left on there. Kind of see what we got now too. Maybe I'll give it a little bit more of a cleaning in a few spots. Notice I'm not just inundating this thing with water. I ran it underwater to rinse it. It did take on a lot of the water, which means I'm gonna have to put a nice wax finish on it or something, because that's pretty much been worn off. The rim's usually really one of the toughest spots, so we'll get that outside and use some special, not super special tools. I don't have anything you can't buy at like Home Depot. Okay, so don't think I'm pulling out all these stops. I mean, hell, I've got OxyClean and a red Solo cup from Frat Party, it looks like, right? Not that I've been to one of those in a long time. At any rate, really ever. I never did. That's a whole other thing. But that's never been my venue. So getting there, we get it nice, kind of cleaned out. We'll do a better job with that later. All right, so now we're going to set all that stuff off. And once it dries, we'll convene back in the workshop. So I've made the decision, let's see if we can get a better picture here. I've made the decision to go ahead and take this finish down. I'm probably not going to sand it, but I see some really weird discoloration here. That's not typical. In typical places, I would see discoloration because it's been smoked too hot. I'm really not sure what's going on. I'm going to try to take this off, and what I'll do for that is to soak it in ethyl alcohol for a few hours. That'll take all of the wax or anything else off. There'll still be some finish there, but we may knock the finish down a little bit. But I'm really interested to see about getting some of this extra dark coloration off of here. So we'll throw this in some alcohol for a few hours. We'll yank it and see what we get. All right, so we have been soaking the stummel. We've been soaking the wood part, right? Briar, for about 6 hours, and see, there's been a lot of things leaching out. A lot of that's from the inside of the chamber, but a lot of it is also the finish, because when we do something this drastic, it does destroy the finish. Now what it also allows us to do, it gives us the opportunity to do a little bit more thorough cleaning on the inside. Okay, so this will be dry, and you'll see this will get pretty light because we took most of the finish off. What this gives me the opportunity to do is to do a little bit better scrubbing. So we'll start with pipe cleaner. So what we can do, I already have my ethyl alcohol here. I am dipping the end of that pipe cleaner in, and I'm going to just give this a really good scrubbing. Okay, we're able to really clean the inside of this nicely. It's not going to get 100% clean because remember there's some walls on the inside are charred, right, at least on the bottom here. But we're getting a lot out. See, that's a dirty boy right there. So we'll bend that, give us a little bit more width. We'll put that in there, give it a really nice turning, nice cleaning. So I'll take my my nifty blue shop rag, which everybody ought to have, right? My dad's a recently retired oil field mechanic, and blue towels were just part of our everyday. So I think we may have blue towels at the dinner table. But at any rate, so that's pretty dry. That's about as clean as you're going to get it, but you can tell that there's still some blotches. I'm really interested to see how this comes out. Now, I did grab some other pipes in this line just so I can kind of get an idea of the finish. And you can see this is a really beautiful little pipe, but it also has some inconsistency. So I don't think that's crazy. I think that may be something we just see with pipes of this line. These are all sandblasted Everyman pipes by Comoys. This one has a little darker stain generally. I'm not sure if we're going to go back, because this would be almost like a black stain, and these are all nice kind of darker tan stains. I'm going to try to go back with a nice tan stain on this one, but we're going to see what it looks like once we take a little bit off and see what we're getting with there. So that's interesting. Now we're going to set this over here to dry. And then remember our OxyClean solution from yesterday. This is what we have now. It doesn't look as bad as it did, but it's not perfect right now, okay? It's nowhere close to perfect. So we're going to get our blue towel again. I'm going to give this a good washing. Look at all of that oxidation that's coming off. We're going to give this a really nice buffing. It should come. It looks so good, it's probably going to shine up really nicely. But look, it's already black, right? So, I mean, it's not as discolored as I was expecting. If you remember, when we put it in there 24 hours ago, it was all kinds of different colors, right? So, right now, what we have, and we'll go ahead and clean this with the same ethyl alcohol, because we have it here to do, right? Whew, look at that, gross. All right, so this is a tapered pipe cleaner. Man, it's so gunky down in there, it's not easy to get back and forth. This pipe was smoked heavy and very seldom cleaned. Gonna have to get a few more pipe cleaners in here, but all right. What I want to do is usually if it's nice and clean inside, you should be able to kind of go back and forth like that pretty easy. So there's a lot of resistance, which means there's a lot of buildup on the inside of this. And for that to be on the inside of the, we're gonna get this clean, don't you worry. Okay, we may even use a little bit of dish soap. That's kind of one of my that's one of my little secrets on the stem. Don't ever use dish soap on the briar, but you can get away with it here. So we'll try to get this as clean as possible with the. We'll keep doing this until it gets pretty clean. But I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do this, but I'm going to set this over to the side over here. We're going to give it a really good clean. But next time you see me, we're actually going to be in the workshop in the garage, and we're going to start putting this back together and making a really nice clean refurbished pipe to put into the collection. Alrighty, before we get started, I'll give you a real quick tour of my modest workshop as I put this thing. All right, so back here we'll start. I have my bandsaw, drill press, lathe, wood lathe with right now I have these buffing wheels on here because we'll be using that for this. Keep all my little woods up there. Nice little work area here. And I have my Dremel station with 2 Dremels actually, and you'll see how those work next. But this is the little area that I get most of my work done. Let's jump right into getting this stem cleaned up. Alrighty, so the first thing I'm going to clean up is the stem. And I have a little bit of compound here. And for the stem cleanup, I'm going to use my Dremel. Both of these Dremels, it's important to have a variable speed Dremel if you're going to do this kind of work, because when you if it's too fast, if it's spinning too fast, it may actually cause so much heat that it damages the stem. So what we're going to do first is I have this little buffing wheel. I'm going to get this turned on pretty low, pick up a little bit of compound, and then I'm going to start working around the stem and do it real nice and easy. Sometimes I do this on the stationary one. That can be pretty, but we're going to do something else with that. So we're going to go ahead and get this nice and cleaned up. This compound does a really good job. And the cool thing that I found with the, I say it's cool, I don't know how cool it is, but the Everyman and Guildhall stems, when you get to the part that has the metal inlay, it really colors this a lot. So what I like to do is go around in the circles. You have a little bit less likelihood of messing up the stem by putting some marks in it. So if you do this so much that it causes it to heat up, you can kind of judge how warm it is while you're holding it. It's one of the reasons why I like to hold it and do this, because I can feel how warm the stem is getting. So all this is doing is taking off that top layer of oxidation. Build a pretty strong grip doing this too. You'd think that something so small wouldn't have to be held so steady, but it does. Let's take a peek and see how good that's going. And usually what I would do at this point is take it right over to the buffing wheel and knock all of this compound off. But I don't want to have to move my camera to go back to the buffing wheel. So I'm going to save everything I want to buff and do it all at one time. So you want to make sure to work all the surfaces. It looks a little drab right now, but once we buff all of this off, I think we pretty much got all of it. That's pretty good. All right. So the stem's about ready to handle there. So what we'll do next is work on, and this, I was just going to show another stem. This one hasn't oxidized yet, but this is another one I'm working on. This one isn't as oxidized, and I haven't put it in the OxyClean yet, but this is another pot that it's a Comoist pot that I'm working on. The difference is, and one reason I want to show you is if I wanted to clean this up, right, there's going to be some film and stuff all over it. I can clean this up the same way that I did the stem. Pick up a little compound and work it along like this. Okay, But it's a smooth pipe, and you can do that with a smooth pipe. You run into some difficulty when you're doing this with a, go ahead and turn this off. And that cleans off and shines pretty nice. You can take it over to the buffing wheel, knock it out. So smooth pipe's real easy. What you run into issues with when you're dealing with a sandblast pipe is there's a lot of little crags in there, and that's why we use the toothbrush. But what I'm going to use right now is this Dremel. I'm using a 280 grit finishing abrasive buff wheel, and this one will actually get down in there. What we're going to do is kind of work it along the grain because we want to get it all clean down there, and I want to try to get this dark, all this dark stuff off. So we're going to turn it on, make sure it's at an appropriate speed. See, this one I can go really fast. You don't want to do that. Or I can drop it down. And then we're just going to work the pipe. We don't want to knock off all of the, I'll get this a little closer. Sorry. We don't want to knock off all of the nomenclature, right? So we want to take that pretty gently. But we do want to take off the finish. So we run the chance of knocking off the nomenclature. I can still see that pretty well. Go a little bit more. And now I'm going to work along these ridges. You can see this is taking off quite a bit. Cleaning it up nicely. We're going to want to get it really cleaned off. Now see how this is so dark down here? This is what I'm hoping this will take off. I have a little higher grit for those areas. We'll see if I need to go there. It's not. It's working its way off now. Sometimes changing the angle helps. I'm going to move to a higher grit. A lot of this is trial and error, right? You give it a little try. If it works, it works. If you don't, if it doesn't, it doesn't. So there we go. All right, this one's a little higher grit, so it may take a little bit more off. We're going to stay away from that nomenclature, and we'll stay up here. Oh yeah, you can hear that. And I want to work this dark spot down here and try to clean that dark spot off. It's coming off pretty nicely right now. Yeah, look at that. And what I'm hoping it does is just kind of turns into a nice grain accentuation there, right? That's a big word. I don't even know if that's a real word, but we're going to try to use it, right? And we don't want to take so much off that it really starts destroying our grain, right? So we're getting to that point where I want to start thinking about taking it easy, going a little lighter, but I want to get that kind of odd darkness off there. And then I want to clean the rim especially well. So once I get this all kind of nice and uniform, again, it's taking just that little surface off. Then we're going to have to make some decisions based on our finish. Getting nice and clean now. I'll try to get this. The rim's going to be nice and clean. Got to be careful with it though, because the rim can be pretty susceptible to abrasion. All right, that's cleaning that rim up nicely. You can just kind of poke it down in there a little bit, clean up the edge. All right. There's the nomenclature. We're getting nice and clean around it. And there we go. I'm going to wipe this down. Let's see, I do have some ethyl alcohol here. And I got a piece of this famous blue towel. And wipe the outside of this down really well. I'm going to clean it up because we don't want, when we put our wax on or when we put our stain on, we don't want any of that old stuff left over. So, all right, that's got it nice and clean. We're gonna let it dry, and then we will we'll apply a new stain. Okay, so I want to stay relatively authentic. So one of the things that I did is I went and pulled some other Everyman pipes from my collection. So here's some other sandblasted Everyman pipes. Obviously, you can tell this one's taken down to almost to bare wood. So we want to get to this level. So this one is a little bit of an anomaly. This one looks almost like it has a black stain. So we're not going to go with a black stain, even though that is very common for a lot of sandblasted pipes. This is a little bit darker. What we have here, we have bison, which is kind of dark, and timber brown, which is lighter. So what I'm going to do is go with the bison. Set these out of the way so I don't accidentally get any stain on them. That's the bison. And I will give me a little something to put that pipe on when I'm ready. I have my little dauber here. I'm going to get my fingers dirty, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to apply a very nice, even coat of leather stain on this pipe. Don't worry about things getting over. It's okay. I'm gonna actually grab it here in a minute so I'll get it all on my hands and things, but we'll try to reduce that as much as possible. Already getting a nice rich color with it. A lot of that's going to actually go away when we wipe it down, but we're going to get the rim done. Looks like it's covered pretty well. Famous blue towel. Give it a good wipe down. All right, it's looking good. So now we have this really nice deep kind of a reddish brown color, and if we look at these, it doesn't look so much now because this is matte and this is shiny, but we're going to shine this up. And this is where I have to make a decision. Okay, I have to decide if this sandblast will probably be okay using carnauba wax, which is this little block here. That gives it a really nice shine, but one of the problems is if we have a sandblast that's really craggy, sometimes you can't properly distribute the wax across it. This one's craggy, but it's not crazy craggy. I think we're going to go with that. The other option is to do a crystalline wax polish, which, let's see, I think I have a couple of basket pipes that I try new stuff with every once in a while. Like here's one where I'm trying here's one. Great. So here's one where I'm trying out a rustication. Just a little basket pipe. It's nice to do because sometimes you'll get a pipe that that's a smooth, that has a lot of feels, or it doesn't look very nice. And to be able to just go through and rusticate it, you might bring bring a whole new life to that pipe. So so that's the plan there. But the difference here is if I was to take this and take a little corner off our famous blue towels and wipe that down, and you want to kind of work it pretty well, you see how it can give a nice lustrous shine even down in those deep crags, right? Problem with that is it's not going to last as long. If I put a nice mirror finish with the carnauba wax, it's going to last a long time. So I'm going to reposition and move us all over to the lathe, and then we'll clean all of these up, and we'll try to wrap this up. So here we are in the lathe, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this little stem up. Okay, it still has a lot of the excess on it, so I'm going to use this really fluffy buffing wheel just to clean that off. Make sure it's all good and tight. We'll turn that on. Got most of that oxidation off. Once I put a little bit of oil on that, that's going to look really nice. All right. Now we'll grab this. What I like to do when I'm working on the when I'm buffing is I keep my finger in this, because if you let this take it, it'll throw it on the ground and mess up your pipe. So the way mine's laid out, and I should have it labeled, but this is the one I use to clean off with. All right, this is the one I use between putting on my wax, and this is the one I use for wax. So what I'm going to do is give it a nice little cleanup. See, I almost let it take it there. Give it a nice little cleanup. Okay. Buff it with this one. Take whatever little pieces off. And then I'm going to take my wax and I'm going to inlay, so the heat and that friction embeds this wax into this wheel. And watch this. This is going to look pretty magical, especially here on the flat part. But watch what I do here. See how that looks kind of matte finish there? Look at that, it's almost like glass. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna follow these little veins in the wood, or these little bits in the wood. Get a little on the edge too, just in case I have to work the edges. So I'm gonna hold this real tight, make sure I've got it really nice. See, I can tell. We're gonna have to work a lot of that out, right? We'll see if this was the right choice or not. Puts a really nice shine on it. I know right now it doesn't look like much, but we'll get there. Alright, so looking at that right there, there's a lot of white stuff in there. We're going to try to clean that out here, if we can. If we need to do it a little tougher, we'll go in here with it. That bottom really cleaned up nicely. Where it's smooth. Oh, I like the colors on that. It's real nice. All right. So what we're going to do now is take a clean toothbrush. I say a clean toothbrush. We're going to take a dry toothbrush. And we're going to try to work down in there. Get some of that wax to smooth out so it's not so white down in the crags. That's looking nice. Looks pretty good there, doesn't it? All right. Well, let's put them together. All right, so we're going to use a little bit of obsidian pipe stem oil. I'll rub it all on that pipe stem. Get it nice and shiny. Alright, clean it off nice. Give this a nice wipe off. And here we go. We're going to put them all back together for the first time. There it is. Pipe is a lot better than it looked before. I don't know how good the light is, but we'll see it again in a few minutes. So, almost like new. And here's the old pipe. So they're very similar in finish. Ready to go into the collection. And that's how I add a new old pipe to the collection. I believe this is shape number 93. Now that we've got it nice and cleaned up and we can see all the nomenclature, which means it's a slightly forward cantered. Some would call it a cutty. I think Comoys has it listed as a Belgium or Belgian, but it's a new shape for me. I've got I think I've got 53 of their 212 recorded shapes right now, so still got a ways to go. Still got a lot of pipes to clean up, but it's going to go right here. This is all the sandblasted Guildhall and Everyman pipes that I have in my collection, and it will take its place right among them. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day.